Vought is the name of several related aerospace firms. These have included, in the past, Lewis and Vought Corporation, Chance Vought, Vought-Sikorsky, LTV Aerospace, Vought Aircraft Companies, and the current Vought Aircraft Industries. The first incarnation of Vought was established by Chance M. Vought and Birdseye Lewis in 1917. In 1928, it was acquired by United Aircraft and Transport Corporation, which a few years later became United Aircraft Corporation. This was the first of many reorganizations and buyouts. During the 1920s and 1930s, Vought Aircraft and Chance Vought specialized in fighter planes and other carrier-based aircraft for the United States Navy, by far its biggest customer. Chance Vought produced thousands of planes during World War II, including the F4U Corsair. Vought became independent again in 1954, and was purchased by Ling-Temco-Vought in 1961. The company designed and produced a variety of planes and missiles throughout the Cold War. Vought was sold from LTV and owned in various degrees by the Carlyle Group and Northrop Grumman in the early 1990s. It was then fully bought by Carlyle, renamed Vought Aircraft Industries, and continues aerospace work today, with headquarters in Dallas, Texas. History The Chance Vought years 1917 1928 The Lewis and Vought Corporation was founded in 1917 and was soon succeeded by the Chance Vought Corporation in 1922 when Birdseye Lewis retired. A former chief engineer of the Wright Company, Chance M. Vought founded the company to take advantage of the growing field of military and civilian aviation after World War I. Operations began in Astoria, New York, and in 1919 were moved to Long Island City, New York. Vought died from septicemia in 1930, but in that short time period succeeded in producing a variety of fighters, trainers, flying boats, and surveillance aircraft for the United States Navy and the United States Army Air Service. Vought made history in 1922 when their Vought VE-7 trainer made the first takeoff from the decks of the USS Langley, the first American aircraft carrier. Following this success came the VE-11 naval fighter and the Vought 2U Corsair, the first of the Corsair aircraft. In 1928, the company was acquired by United Aircraft and Transport Corporation, but stayed its own separate division among the likes of Pratt & Whitney and Boeing. 1930s Euro 1960 Despite the Great Depression, Vought continued to design and manufacture aircraft at a growing pace. Soon after Chance Vaught's death in 1930, the company moved its operations to East Hartford, Connecticut. Under the Airmail Act of 1934, United Aircraft and Transportation Corporation was forced by law to divide its businesses, resulting in Boeing Aircraft, United Airlines, and the United Aircraft Corporation, of which Vought was a part. In 1939 United Aircraft moved Vought to Stratford, Connecticut, where their Sikorsky division was located, and renamed the entire division Vought-Sikorsky Aircraft. Chief Engineer Rex Beisel began in 1938 to develop the XF4U, recognized by its distinctly inverted gull wings. After a maiden flight in 1940, thousands of F4U Corsairs were produced for the Navy and Marines in World War II. By the end of its production in 1952, Vought, Goodyear, and Brewster had all produced the aircraft at one point or another. Vought was re-established as a separate division in United Aircraft in 1942. In post-war 1949, Vought moved operations to Dallas, Texas, where the former North American B plant was located. Initiated by the Navy, who feared having their two main aircraft manufacturers located on the East Coast posed an unnecessary risk, Vought moved £27 million of equipment and 1,300 employees in 14 months, a record-breaking industrial move at the time. In 1954, the company fully separated from United Aircraft and became the independent Chance Vought Aircraft Incorporated. Vought began manufacture of its F-8 Crusader for the U.S. Navy in 1957, one of the first Navy fighters capable of supersonic flight and the Navy's last all-gun fighter. The same basic design was later heavily revised and shortened to produce Vaught's A-7 Corsair II, a carrier-borne close air support and attack plane in 1965, an aircraft which would become heavily engaged in a variety of close support and strike missions during the Vietnam War, beginning in 1967. The A-7 has also participated in the U.S. invasion of Grenada in 1983. A punitive raid on Syrian missile sites, in 1983. Reprisal raids against Libya during Operation El Dorado Canyon, in 1986. Strikes against Iranian coastal platforms and naval forces during Operation Praying Mantis, in 1988. Support of the 1989 invasion of Panama. And throughout operations during Desert Storm in 1991. The A-7A, A-7B, A-7C and A-7E served with the U.S. Navy while the A-7D was purchased by the U.S. Air Force and Air National Guard. Two-seat models known as the TA-7CE served with the U.S. Navy while the U.S. Air Force purchased the TA-7K. The A-7 served in limited numbers with 3 foreign air forces, including Greece, Portugal and Thailand. LTV Acquisition 1960 Euro 1990 equals. Vought was bought by James Ling in 1962, forming the new conglomerate Ling-Temco-Vought. Yet despite the buyout, Vought Aeronautics and Vought Missiles and Space continued to develop and produce for the Air Force and Navy under the umbrella of LTV Aerospace. By the early 1980s, LTV was struggling, and Vought suffered heavy layoffs. The first of 2 decades of reorganizations began in 1972 with the creation of Vought Systems by the merging of the Vought Missiles and Space and Aeronautics divisions. All of LTV Aerospace was renamed the Vought Corporation in 1976, but by 1983 the Vought Company was again split along aeronautic and missile lines under LTV Aerospace and Defense. 1992 proved the end of Vaught's relationship with LTV. In mid-year the aircraft division was purchased by Northrop and the Carlyle Group, each owning roughly 50% of the company. Additionally, the entire missile division was sold to the Vought Corporation, and is currently a part of Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control. 1990s to today Northrop Grumman, the successor to Northrop and Grumman, bought out the Carlyle Group's share of Vought for $130 million in 1994. The Carlyle Group then purchased the entire company from Northrop Grumman in 2000, establishing Vought Aircraft Industries, Incorporated, the current incarnation. It is now primarily an aerostructures subcontractor. Vought is heavily involved in the Boeing 747, Boeing 787 aircraft as well as supplying parts for the F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II and the V-22 Osprey. In July 2003, the Aerostructures Corporation, owned by the Carlyle Group and based in Nashville, Tennessee, merged with Vought. Vaught's Nashville site supplies wing components for Airbus A319, A320, A330, and A340. Boeing announced in July 2009 that it had agreed to acquire the North Charleston, South Carolina facility of Vought Aircraft Industries, where Vought builds sections 47 and 48 of the aft fuselage for Boeing's 787 Dreamliner. Boeing agreed to pay $580 million for the facility. In June 2010, the Carlyle Group sold Vought to the Triumph Group, an aerospace component manufacturer. The Vought acquisitions now operate as Triumph Aerostructures, Vought Aircraft Division. Products Aircraft Consolidator TBYC Wolf. Vought designed. Production was by Consolidated as the TBY. Vought A7 Corsair II, Vought YO7F. LTV XC142, Vought FU, Vought XF2U, Vought XF3U, Vought F4U Corsair, Vought XF5U Flying Flapjack, Vought F6U Pirate, Vought F7U Cutlass, Vought F8 Crusader, formerly F8U Crusader. Vought XF8U3 Crusader 3, LTV L450F, Prototype Quiet Biplane, Vought O2U Corsair, Vought O4U Corsair, Vought O5U, Vought OS2U Kingfisher, Vought XSO2U, Vought XS2U, Vought SBU Corsair, Vought SB2U Vindicator, Vought XSB3U, Vought B141, Vought B173, Vought BE7, Vought Model 1600. Unmanned aerial vehicles LTV XQM-93. Missiles M270 Multiple Launch Rocket System, ASM-135 ASAT, MGM-52 Lance, SSMN-8 Regulus, SSMN-9 Regulus II, Vought HVM. Rockets Scout, RM-89 Blue Scout IRM-90 Blue Scout II, Scout X, Scout X-1, Scout X-1A, Scout X-2, Scout X-2B, Scout X-2M. Work-share projects Airbus A320 family, Airbus A330 and A340-200/-300, Airbus A340-500/-600, Boeing C-17 Globemaster III, Bell Boeing V-22 Osprey, Boeing 747, Boeing 767, Boeing 777, Boeing 787, Rockwell B-1B Lancer, Lockheed C-5M Super Galaxy, Lockheed C-130 Hercules, Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor, Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit, Sikorsky UH-60 Black Hawk Sikorsky Sh-60. Seahawk. References. External links, official site, Vought Aircraft Industries website's heritage section, with history, photos, and original line drawings of Vought aircraft, U.S. Centennial of Flight Commission, LTV Chance Vought archive from McDermott Library at the University of Texas at Dallas.